Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to Connecticut in America once again, and this is yet another beer that I brought back with me from my recent trip over to Iowa for my friend's wedding. My new friend Miles, he brought a load of New England beers over to Iowa for me to try, and he very kindly donated those to the channel, so a huge shout out to him for making this review possible. So for this one we're going to go back to Kent in the northwestern part of Connecticut, and we're trying my second beer from Kent Falls Brewing Company. This one is called Shoots, and it is an IPA coming in at 6% ABV, and I'm kind of fully expecting a sort of farmhousey type beer, a farmhousey type IPA I guess I should say, the same kind of vibe as the All Alone But Everywhere to Go that I had from these guys previously. That was a very, very nice beer actually, so very curious to see how this one turns out. The really interesting thing about this beer is that they use the same hops but change the malt base for every batch, and this one in particular is batch number 5. So really looking forward to trying this one, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Kent Falls before. Hopefully I can add some more in the near future, but maybe not for a little while. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the American beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. And I'm guessing as well that you can hear the thunder behind me in this video, which is very unusual for Sweden. In fact, I don't think I've ever filmed a review here that's had thunder in the background. But anyway, on to my brewery notes to tell you a little bit about Kent Falls Brewing Company. So Kent Falls Brewing Company were founded officially back in 2014, but they had kind of been in the works for a couple of years before that. But the main man behind the company is Barry LeBenz, and the brewery itself can be found on a fully functioning farm out to the southeast of Kent in Connecticut, very close to Lake Warramalg actually. But Barry founded the company with the idea of producing what he called old rustic farmhouse beers, but he also has a background in sales and marketing in the banking sector, and he bought the farm in 2012 along with a business partner and then moved there in 2013. He's joined at the brewery by Derek Dellinger, who became fond of beer while studying abroad in Prague and trying all the different types of Czech lagers that there are. But he had cousins who homebrewed, and apparently it was a demonstration at a farmer's market that gave him his calling, and then he went and bought a homebrew kit. He spent a few years getting deeply into homebrewing. He wrote about his experiments on a blog which he called Bear Flavoured, and he was also good friends with Evan Watson from Plan B Brewing over in Poughkeepsie in New York, and he'd met him while living in Beacon in New York, which apparently was a little bit of a haven for for like artists and entrepreneurs and also brewers too. But it was through this blog that Barry actually discovered Derek, and Evan pushed him to actually go up to Connecticut and work with Barry too. But initially Barry wanted to call the brewery Food Cycle because, they were producing the stuff on the farm to use in the beers, and it was just, a nice sort of beer production cycle. But a man by the name of John Suskevich was already the food cyclist, and he cycled between different breweries and worked on farms all across the US. Apparently he went all the way across the US on a 5,500 mile trip. So John had emailed Barry during the paperwork stages setting up the brewery, but Barry deleted the email thinking that John simply wanted to steal his idea. So with his persistent attitude, John cycled up to the brewery one day and had a beer with Barry, and then left with the job of farm manager, and he moved to the farm with his wife not long after that. But when the brewery was starting up, LeBenz worked closely with the Connecticut Department of Agriculture because there was no farmhouse brewery laws in the state at that time, and this was, this and the massive infrastructure developments and renovations and things that they were doing on the farm kept the brewery in limbo for about a year. So it was a very kind of long establishment period that this brewery had. But eventually they opened their tap room in June of 2017, and prior to this they had to do a lot of footwork just to get their beers out there and known, and they were one of the first breweries in Connecticut. The second brewery in fact to gain the permit to sell their beers at farmers markets. But in their first year they produced somewhere between 700 to 800 BBLs, and they focused mainly on farmhouse ales and IPAs, which they still do to this day. They grow their own hops on the farm, and they also have a large store of different yeasts as well that they've developed themselves. As of June 2019, when I'm filming this review for you, they've produced 173 different beers, and a large chunk of these are IPAs, and the rest are different types of sour beers. There's saisons, there's Gretzers, there's Goses, and various other things in there as well. So yeah, a really interesting brewery, this one. There's a couple of sort of farmhouse breweries opening up in New England now. The most famous example, I guess, would be Hill Farmstead. A lot of people know those guys, Sean Hill, who I believe was over here in Scandinavia for a little period of time. But yeah, definitely cool to try another beer from a very good brewery in a different part of America. It's very difficult for us over here in Europe to try the different beers from different states over in the US, so whenever we get opportunities like this, we do kind of grab them with both hands. But that's all you really need to know about Kent Falls Brewing for the moment. Definitely one of the Connecticut breweries you want to check out. But yeah, let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer itself then. So a few more things to tell you about this beer just before we open this one up. So as I mentioned to you earlier, this guy is a 6% IPA. They changed the malt bill for each batch. This one in particular is batch number 5, so this one uses Pilsner, malted naked oats and spelt from Valley Malts, and it's hopped with Michigan Copper and Bitter Gold, both of which they grow on the farm. And these are two hops that I had never encountered before. So I did a little bit of research on these as well. So Michigan Copper was released in 2014 by GLH, and it's supposed to give flavours and aromas of cherries, red candy and various other tropical fruits, as well as being just rather quite kind of floral and spicy. Bitter Gold, on the other hand, was first produced back in 1999, and it has heritage from the Brewer's Gold, Bullion, Comet and Fuggles hops, and it's supposed to give big flavours of watermelon, pear and stone fruits as well. So I'll be very curious to see how this one turns out. But yeah, I'll let you have a little quick look at the artwork on this one before you open up, or before we open it up rather. Quite nice this, again, very kind of modernist and minimalist at the same time. So I quite like this. You can see on the back here it does tell you batch number 5, and it tells you here for batch info visit kentfallsbrewing.com/beer/lunch. I'll just give this one a little bit of a dry on my t-shirt for the moment, so it looks better on the camera. But yeah, as I say, should be a very nice beer. A 6% New England, they're saying it's an Imperial Pale Ale, this one, but I would say an IPA is usually an India Pale Ale. But yeah, it comes in at 6% ABV. And it's a 1 US pint, which is 473 millilitres in real people measurements, or the metric system as it's more commonly known. So let's get it out and we will get on with the tasting then. I'm just, you know, as I say, I had never filmed a review quite like this one, where there's all this thunder and rain out the back. I think there has been rain in a couple of these reviews, but I've never quite had the lightning and the thunder and things. So yeah, this is another first for you on Rampant Lion Reviews. And when I think the first time I encountered that was when I went to America. So it's a little bit ironic that I'm filming this review for you of an American beer while all this American style weather is going on. But yeah, if I hold this beer up to the light, this one is one of the darker. It's kind of leaning towards the darker end of the yellows that you'll get from a New England IPA. There's a finger and a third, I guess you could say, of a frothy, kind of creamy coloured head. This one, it's not perfect white. 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of that head there. But you know, overall, it looks very nice, this one. Just trying to remember the name of the hop. So it's Michigan Copper and Bitter Gold in this one. Let's get rid of the brewery notes. Michigan Copper and Bitter Gold. So yeah, 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side, and a few little ones heading up towards the bottom of that head. So, you know, as you move this beer around, you will get some really nice notes of fruit coming off of this beer. So yeah, as you can see, definitely a good bit of haze to this one, but we'll take a little look at the aroma and just see how we get on. So yeah, again with this one, and I said the same about the All Alone But Everywhere to Go, it really has this nice sort of funky, yeasty quality to it, and it does remind me of these fake IPAs that we're getting out of Norway now, and a few other breweries around Scandinavia, and even some in Germany actually, are having a go at brewing this style of beer. and it works really nicely. So these house yeasts that they seem to have at Kent Falls Brewing Company are doing some very, very interesting stuff, I have to say. So yeah, you get that nice big doughy yeasty quality out of there. It's quite almost astringent. You do get some sharper lemony notes out of it, lemony, sharper, grassy qualities to the beer. You can pick out some nice smooth wheaty malts to it. The Pilsner malt, you can smell at the same time, it's giving it a little bit of crispness actually, which is very, very interesting. Pilsner malt I've always found is quite distinctive. I'm very into my traditional German beers and Czech beers now as well. And you can always smell those Pilsner malts that go into these. You can smell just a little bit of that kind of crispness in there from this beer. But the oaty creaminess is coming out. The nice smooth wheaty qualities are in there as well. The Pilsner malt is there. There's a little touch of a biscuity sweetness, but you can smell those nice big doughy, bready, farmhousey type yeasts out of this one. As I say, it really reminds me of these fake IPAs that are coming out here in Europe. And I think this might well be the next kind of big craze, if you like, these sort of farmhouse type IPAs, and I guess these are in some way an offshoot of the Belgian IPAs that were going around a little while ago. You don't see too many Belgian IPAs anymore unless you actually go to Belgium. But yeah, when you're smelling the aroma of this beer, you will also notice there is a little touch of a kind of slightly earthy vegetal backbone to this one, which I think is quite interesting. You do get this with some of the different New England IPAs. I did notice it with Heady Topper actually. That was kind of an interesting one. Heady Topper was it was a lot more bitter than we're used to with New England IPAs, but it did have that slightly herbal vegetal kind of underlying to it, which was really interesting. You can get a little bit of that in this one as well. So maybe there is something with that with these slightly farmhousey New England IPAs where you get a bit more of that. But on the hoppy side of things, there's a lot of fruity quality coming out of this beer. You can pick up a nice slightly spicy floral aromatic note to this one. I'm not saying slightly floral, it is actually quite floral, this beer. There's a nice little bit of a lighter grassy quality to this one, but to me the green side of the hops on the aroma really leans towards that kind of slightly spicy floral side of things. The earthiness, the sort of earthy vegetal notes on this one are pushing their way out a little bit more in my opinion as well. But yeah, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of this beer before you get stuck into it. On the fruity side of the things, this is where it gets really interesting. The watermelons I can really get from the bitter gold. The watermelon for me is really coming out. You could smell that as soon as you open up the beer, and you will get slightly different aromas out of this. If you go into it very, very closely like that, you're going to get a different aroma compared to when you're further away from it. So yeah, I can pick out the watermelons in this one. There is a bit of a red fruity note. I can see why they say cherries come out of the other hop in there as well. The Michigan Gold, name's gone out of my head now. The Michigan hop that was in this one. But yeah, definitely I can pick out the cherries and a little bit of the kind of red berryish fruits in there. It almost smells that there's a little touch of raspberry or something too, but definitely a little bit of a peary quality as well. The watermelons and the pears are coming out, and the cherry and stone fruits are really in there too. It's a really interesting combination of things, but that slightly farmhousey, yeasty quality that this beer has is interesting. And to be honest with you, the more and more that I smell of it, the more it starts to lean towards that vegetal, herbal kind of thing. It really does remind me of the Kvike IPAs and stuff that are coming out of Norway. I've said that a few times now. So as I always say, take a little bit of time and just enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. But we're going to have a taste of this one now and just see how we get on. So this one is the Shoots, the batch number 5 from Kent Falls Brewing Company in Kent, just next to Lake Warramalg in the northwestern part of Connecticut. Thank you again to Miles for making this review possible. Let's get stuck in. Slange Skål. Yeah, again, that's a really quite nice beer, this one. Thumbs up to Kent Falls Brewing. When I try things like this, it does really make me wonder where either this brewery's got its inspiration from, or where the breweries in Norway have got their inspiration from. Because these farmhousey IPAs are actually very nice, and I do think this might well be the next kind of craze that grips the craft beer world. They're always finding new stuff to do. yeah, this is a brewery that I definitely need to go and visit the next time I find myself over in Connecticut. Hopefully we don't get weather like that, but I know Connecticut is definitely capable of producing such weather. But this is very, very nice. So let's try and break this one down a little bit then. So you can feel the nice sort of pale malty I think it's the spelt malt that's giving you that. You can feel that going right across the middle of the palate there, and I think that's maybe what's partly giving this beer that sort of slightly herbal, vegetally kind of thing that's going on there. But you can feel in the base there is a nice oaty creaminess to this one. In the very centre of your palate, it's got that nice kind of sweet biscuity quality to the beer as well, and it works very, very well, I have to say. It's maybe even a slightly rich caramel in the middle of the palate, and as you move further out from the very centre, it becomes a little bit more biscuity, but you can really feel the oaty creaminess just outside of that, and the sort of wheaty base, forming the linchpin of this beer, and the sort of vegetal, herbal kind of thing that's going on here, which will be from the esters and stuff that the yeast is producing in this beer. You can really feel that just kind of mixing in with the sort of wheaty, bready qualities in the beer. It's a really interesting, slightly complex malt base to this one. There maybe even is a little touch of a woody flavour. Just if you go to the front corners of your palate there before the curve of the tongue and move in a little bit, there is just this little slightly woody flavour coming out of this beer, which again is really interesting. I mean, this is one of the ones I'll need to try the next batch of this beer when I go out to Connecticut at some point. I really do need to get out there again, because it's a very, very pretty state actually. I need to get out there and just have a little look at this brewery, because it's cool to find this. Connecticut, I was making fun of Iowa earlier for it being flat and there being nothing. Connecticut in some ways is the same, but there's just a lot of trees. It's nothing, but it's forest nothing. But yeah, at the same time, a very pretty state, and it's cool to find a little farmhouse brewery like this out there, so hopefully I can go out and visit it sometime. So yeah, the malt base in this one will definitely keep you occupied. There's a hell of a lot of things going on here. In the back corners of the palate, for me, there's a nice little bit of earthiness in there, and I think that might be something that this bitter gold hop has inherited from Fuggles. Fuggles is, as a hop, I was never a great fan of it in light beers like this. It's very good when you use it in stouts and porters and stuff because of that slightly ashy, earthy quality that it has. But I never liked it in golden ales and stuff like that. So yeah, you can definitely feel a little bit of that slightly darker earthiness there in the back corners of the palate. But as you come further forward along the sides of the tongue, the beer is definitely markedly more floral and aromatic, and then round the front curve of the palate it's just that little bit lighter and grassy. I mean, this isn't the spiciest or most punchy floral aromatic beer that you're going to come across in terms of the green side of the hops, but it's a very nice and smooth thing, and that earthy quality that the beer has actually builds in very well with that kind of vegetal, herbal underlying that this beer's getting from what I'm guessing is the yeast strain that they're using. So yeah, it's a really nice beer, this one. It gets a big thumbs up from me, but I have to say, if I had the choice between this one and the All Alone Bit Everywhere to Go, I'd probably pick the former to be, or I'd probably pick the All Alone with Everywhere to Go. I would probably pick that one over this one, but this is still a very, very nice beer, this one, and they've got so many different batches of it. This is one that will teach you a little bit more about different malts and things like that, so bear that in mind when you're trying some of these Kent Falls beers, and hopefully this isn't the last one that I try from these guys. So yeah, on to the fruity side of the beer then. So for me, with this one, it's the fruity side of things. It has it's an interesting thing, this. I mean, the watermelony flavours I can really get out of this one, and definitely the peary notes. That, as I always say, the fruity esters in a beer from the hops will come out in that little oily bubble behind the front curve of your palate, and you can just feel that rolling off the tongue in this one a little bit. So with this beer, you do get a nice little bit of that. So for me, towards the front of the tongue, the watermelon and the peary flavours are coming out. At the back of the tongue there's a little bit of the more kind of tropical fruity notes. There is almost just a little bit of that slightly darker passion fruity, grapefruity kind of flavour coming out of this beer. But it's not, it maybe isn't that because it's not quite as dark, but that gives a good bridge between the sort of vegetably herbal things from the yeast that I was talking about earlier. But yeah, the watermelon, the kind of peary flavours from the bitter gold are coming out. Cherries, am I getting cherries out of this? Yeah, I mean, there is some sort of berryish red fruit quality to this one. If you go behind the watermelon and the peary flavours and just go a little bit back, when you take this beer in, there is just a little bit of a juicy red fruitish quality to this one. I'm not sure it's quite cherries, but definitely some nice berry notes to this one out the back of that, on the back of that. So yeah, it's a really interesting beer, this one. It does remind me in some ways of, as I say, of the Quake IPAs that we're getting over here now, and also a little bit of the Alchemist Brewery ones. And I didn't, you know, when I was, the New England IPAs that we started over here in Sweden with was Stigberg, so it's the very creamy, smooth ones in that sense. These ones that I'm actually getting from New England, like Alchemist and stuff like that, are quite different actually, so just bear that in mind when you try some of these beers. But again, this one's really nice, and that slightly different malt base and the way that the yeast goes together, there's a very, very interesting flavour combination to this one. So just give it a go for yourself and see what you think. From what I understand, they're now on batch 7 of this particular beer. So yeah, this review will probably be a little bit different from the ones that you'd watch, or the beers that you try, so just bear that in mind with us. I don't know if they'll brew this beer in exactly the same way again, but as it stands with batch 5, it was pretty damn good, and I do hope I can try some of the other batches in the fairly near future. But yeah, let's leave it at that with this one. Once again, a huge thank you to Miles for making this review possible. As always, let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Kent Falls Brewing as well, and hopefully I can go and actually visit these guys at some point soon, and hopefully I can review more beers from them too. But thank you again for watching. Check out my social media, and as always, I hope you've enjoyed this review. Until the next time, Slanger just now, and I'll catch you guys very soon. This is the Shoots, an IPA, New England sort of farmhousey type IPA, batch number 5 from Kent Falls Brewing Company in Kent in the northwestern part of Connecticut. Until the next time, Slanger just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Slanger, skull.